Let's Bokashi compost. Bokashi compost is actually a type of fermentation as opposed to compost. When you Bokashi compost your food, you are fermenting it using micro-inoculated bran. Once it's fermented, then you add it to a compost pile, you dig a trench in your garden, add it there, or you can even add it to a soil factory where you create improved and beneficial soil for your garden. I'm starting with a 5-gallon bucket. You can get these at any home improvement store. I have added a gamma lid. A gamma lid is a 2-piece system where a ring will snap onto the top of the bucket, and it has threads so that you can screw on the top. And the importance of a gamma lid when you're Bokashi composting is it keeps out the smell. So while the food is fermenting, it doesn't smell so good. Once it's fermented, it just smells like sauerkraut or a really stinky pickle. But this will keep your garage, your closet, your guest room, underneath the kitchen sink, your house, it'll keep it from smelling while it's fermenting. This bucket was just recently emptied into my compost pile. It's ready to start again. And the first thing I'm gonna do is take the special micro-inoculated bran, about a 1/4 cup, and I'm gonna sprinkle this on the bottom of the bucket. The bucket I'm using has no holes or spigot. I've tried it both ways and I've found this works just fine. Once I've started with a layer of the bran, then I can add my food scraps. Let's talk about what food scraps you can add. There's not much you can't add. You don't really have to play by the same rules as you would when you're adding to your outdoor open compost pile because you're fermenting the food. And so you can add meat and dairy and cooked foods, oily foods, things you probably wouldn't normally add to your normal compost pile. And also things that you don't normally add to your worm bin like citrus and onions. Let's see what we've got to add today. This is my kitchen counter compost container, and I've got an avocado, half of an avocado peel, avocado pit, coffee grounds, some herbs, pretzel crisps, a paper towel, cheese rind, a lot of coffee grounds, cheese rinds. I made a charcuterie board last night, so I've got a lot of cheese rinds. More herbs. All right, here we go. My husband bought a package of ground beef and then didn't cook it in time. Still cooked it, but then realized we probably shouldn't eat it. So I have about a pound of ground beef I'm getting ready to add in here. More paper towels. Here we've got a bunch of cut up grapefruit. A good rule of thumb when you're adding to your Bokashi bin is to not add anything larger than the palm of your hand. So if you have something larger than this, say like an entire chicken breast carcass, you would want to disassemble it a bit, cut it up a bit. Instead of putting an entire half of a grapefruit peel in here, I cut that half into thirds. I've got some strawberries and a bunch of cupcake frosting. I don't normally get this dirty when I'm adding to my Bokashi bin, but I'm just wanting to show you everything that I'm adding. All right, these are some leftovers. These are some leftover stale herbs and pretzel crisps. Let's add those in. I've created a 2 to 3 inch layer of food scraps, and that is the good rule of thumb. So for every 2 to 3 inch layer of food scraps, I'm then gonna add a very generous pinch of my Bokashi bran. I'm gonna sprinkle it all around. I want the bran to touch as much food surface as possible. Another thing I can do is I can use a dollar store potato masher to press the food down, which helps get rid of any extra oxygen, because remember, this is an anaerobic process. I can even go one step further and take a piece of cardboard that I've cut the size of the bucket and press it down. Again, reducing the amount of oxygen that is going to be circulating around the microbes. I don't have any cardboard handy, so I'm going to reuse an Amazon mailer. All right, it's done. It's going to go sit in my garage until the next time that my kitchen compost container is full. I'll add another 2 to 3 inch layer, another sprinkle of bran. I will keep doing this until the bucket's entirely full. Once that happens, I'll seal it up, and then I'll make a note. I'll note when I closed the bucket, and then the 2-week mark from when I closed, and the 3-week mark. I'll check it at the 2-week mark. There's a chance it might need to go till the 3-week mark because it's cold right now in the winter. I want to keep the microbes at a pretty even temperature. I don't want them to be too cold where they don't want to work, and I don't want them to be too hot. Once this is fully fermented, and I'll know that because the smell will have changed. It'll have changed from rotting food to sauerkraut stinky pickle. There also might be some white fluffy mold on top. That's the good kind. That's a good sign. So once it's done, I will add it to my outdoor hot compost pile. And within 3 days, my hot compost pile made of wood chips will get very hot into the 140-degree range. Bokashi composting allows our family to be a zero food waste household, and I can feel good about that. It's pretty amazing when you've got one of these buckets entirely full and you know how long it took to fill it, that you are keeping all of that weight, because they get heavy, from going into the landfill, where when inside of a plastic garbage bag, food decomposes at a much slower rate and produces methane gas, which is a dangerous greenhouse gas. So knowing that our family is keeping all of our food out of the landfill makes me feel good.